Don't worry, this takes about 10 or 20 minutes. Someone once said, kids say the darndest things. Well, kids also almost die all the time because they're stupid and they put themselves into stupid situations. At least, from what I remember from childhood. Looking back on it, I'm actually pretty surprised that natural selection didn't pick me off sooner. I mean, God knows it tried. Like in kindergarten, there was an incident. You see, when I was in kindergarten, the teachers would take all the kids out for a walk, but they would make us hold on to this really long rope with a bunch of knots in it so that nobody wandered off into the street. Not much unlike a slave chain of child workers. One day on one of these walks, I remember deciding that holding on to the rope was just way too much work, so I decided to make it a little easier for myself, and I must have gotten some slack on the rope and made a little loop, and then I just put that shit around my neck. Bam! Hands-free rope! The way I remember it was, it felt like a scene out of one of those movies about people who are just way too smart. You know, the people who write on glass with markers to solve their mathematical equations. Well, my child genius, baby prodigy mind saw that holding onto the rope with one hand, well, that was for chumps. You see, that was for chumps, and that was just way too much effort to put into any one thing. Hands-free rope would have been the next greatest thing to sliced bread, had the rope not been pulled tight. I don't know who, but somebody tried to sabotage my scientific progress by pulling that rope tight, and I almost died. The weird thing is, I don't remember anybody telling the teacher what was going on, or being alarmed at all, really. It must have been just a bunch of kids minding their own business and keeping their mouths shut, which I respect, but still a little disappointed because I don't know what kind of kid I was. Clearly probably not a good one. Eventually a teacher did notice that I was dying and come over to help me, because as a kindergarten teacher, that's her one and only job. She de-roped me and here I am. Alive and relatively well, I guess. My childhood was completely full of head injuries, just one head injury after another. I got so many head injuries, I couldn't keep track of all the head injuries. You know, because of the head injuries. I almost hung myself when I was in kindergarten, but every time I went to the beach, I almost drowned. And every time. There wasn't once when there was a good time at the beach. I don't know why I kept going if every time there was a few seconds where I could have died. Because of the undertow. You know why I don't go swimming in the water? Because there's God knows what down there, and it's just waiting to suck you in. That was a fancy voice. I think I actually have a picture of me at the beach from back then. I realize that maybe not everybody knows what an undertow is, because not everybody can be a salty old circumnavigator like myself. Which is just a fancy water talk for guy on a boat, even though it sounds like a guy who has a compass that exclusively points to foreskins. And for those of you who don't know, an undertow is where the body of water that you're swimming in tries to make you a permanent part of it by sucking you right in. Because there just isn't enough garbage at the bottom of the ocean. So imagine my 8-year-old self swimming around, minding my own business when the water, you know, the thing that covers most of the planet, goes, oh, hey, look, well, that's one more thing I can attempt to murder. Covering most of the planet isn't good enough for me. Bring me that boy! It just drags me down to the bottom. Not even David Bowie in the Labyrinth style. Not a rhyme or a Muppet to be seen. It was actually very rude. But the water was like this deep, so I was able to get out clearly and crawl to shore the same way you do when you want to pretend to be Tom Hanks in Castaway. And now that I'm smart enough to know, it'll be a nice day to suck a dick before I get back in that water. So the moral of the story is, don't trust the ocean, because sometimes it's just a lake. So hey, my name is Matt, and I want to know about times where you almost died as a kid. Leave them in the comments below or send them to my Facebook or Twitter. I make videos every Sunday, Tuesday, and Friday right here on the internet. You can check them out by subscribing to this thing that I do. And there's a podcast that comes out every Wednesday. All the links to that junk will be in the description. Broken hand, it's kind of useless. I'll see you guys on Sunday. I don't know if this is the proper way to hold a cat, but it's the only way I know how. If you'd stop squirming, we could make this. We could do this together. All right, just hold on.